back in Memphis at the Freedom Fest 2023 conference. Here with us is Michael Shermer, publisher of the Skeptic Magazine. Welcome to the show. Thank you for being here.
You're welcome.
Michael, what is Skeptic Magazine?
We are a quarterly publication of the Skeptic Society, which is a 501c3 nonprofit science education organization devoted to examining claims of the paranormal, pseudoscience, fringe groups, and cults, and claims of all kinds between junk science, good science, bad science, pathological science, non-science, and plain old nonsense.
So you're Mythbusters.
We are the Mythbusters, that's right, yeah. Yeah, actually, I knew the Mythbusters, and we were kind of doing the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah, although I can't run those experiments in the garage, or else I'd probably blow myself up.
I'm going to come back to the process in just a minute. That's very interesting. Let's talk about a recent news item. Well, not so recent anymore, but it's been popping up over mainstream news. Apparently, some government officials have admitted that we have UFOs now. What happened?
Well, first of all, I've been publishing Skeptic for 30 years. I've been hearing this, disclosure is coming any day now for 30 years, and it hasn't happened. So my priors on this means I'm very low confident that this is the one. Still, I have an open mind. Okay, the whistleblower says, I saw the spacecraft itself. Okay. Can I talk to the guy? No. It's classified. He's afraid of being persecuted and losing his job, so it's top secret. Okay. I don't know what to do with that. Can we go to Area 51 or wherever the warehouse is that holds the alien spaceships? No, you can't go there. Right? Then how do I know it's true?
Right.
So here I remain skeptical until proven otherwise. It's possible. We have multiple people saying that they've talked to whistleblowers. Okay. So I believe the people who said they talked to the whistleblowers really did talk to somebody. And maybe even that the whistleblowers who said, I touched something or I saw something that I couldn't explain, to me it felt like it was off-world, alien. But what if they were not looking at something they know anything about? What if it's some DARPA experimental drone aircraft that no one has any idea about except a handful of top secret scientists working on it, and the whistleblower just happened upon it? It doesn't know what he's looking at. That doesn't mean it's alien. It just means...
Well, UFO sightings have been the tabloids for the last 50 years, but this is getting kind of serious. Listen to this Reuters article from just today, actually yesterday. The Senate in the coming days is expected to consider a bipartisan measure that would compel the U.S. government to publicly release records relating to possible UFO sightings after decades of stonewalling. Senator Majority Chuck Schumer, Democrat, teamed up with Mike Rounds, Republican, in leading an effort to force the disclosure of information relating to what the government officially calls unidentified anomalous phenomena, or UAPs.
Yeah, they keep changing the name. It used to be UFOs, then UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomenon. Yeah. Now it's anomalous phenomenon because there's this one video that's so grainy you can't even see what's going on, that they decide it looks like it goes under the water, so therefore it's not just aerial, it could be on the sea, under the water, therefore we'll call it anomalous. The fact that they keep changing the name tells you, we don't actually know what's going on here. Mm-hmm. What would it take to convince me? Okay, hold the hearings, fine. All right, let's bring it out in the open. Let's see what everybody is talking about. Once and for all, and enough of this top secret, can't tell you. I would believe. I have no commitment to this one way or the other. If there's evidence that we've been visited by aliens and we have the spaceships, okay, I will accept that. In the same way I did the Chinese spy balloon. Yes. When that story first broke, the photos and videos were kind of blurry. It was way up there. And people on the ground with their little iPhones, couldn't quite make it out. Okay, well, let's wait and see. Then all of a sudden they scramble the jets. The jets are right up there taking high resolution photographs. All right, it's real. All right, then the jet shoots it down. And then the Navy, scraping up the debris from the ocean. And okay, end of story. President Biden gets on and says, we did this. It's Chinese, the Secretary of Defense, Secretary of State, the Pentagon, everybody says this is real and we can all see it. End of story. We don't have anything like that with these UAPs. There's nothing like, so all anybody talks about is the credentials of the people who saw it. What difference does it make what credentials they have? It doesn't matter. Let me see it, right? No one asks what the credentials of the pilot that shot down the Chinese spy balloon, because it doesn't matter what his credentials are. There's the balloon, right?
We don't have footage of these things. We don't have video. We don't have them captured on video. And the images that you've seen from the Navy and the pilots and whatnot, they're all blurry. What's up with that?
Exactly. That's my point, is that, we have 200 million high-resolution cell phones, cameras in the United States alone, everybody's walking around with these high resolution cameras in their pockets. Where's the high footage? High quality footage. If we're told by these pilots that we see these things every day.
Right.
Every day? Okay, well, show me the high resolution photographs and videos of these things. Don't have them.
What is the scientific process of reaching a conclusion on anything?
Consensus. It's a social process in a way that you can see it and I can see it, he can see it. When the whole scientific community goes, yeah. Like the Chinese spy balloon. There's no doubt about that. No one's like, I'm the Chinese spy balloon skeptic. Nothing like that.
But can't the consensus be wrong, Michael?
Occasionally the consensus is wrong. Yes, that has happened historically. If you want to just take some other subjects, is the Big Bang Theory the proper theory of the origin of the universe? There was no consensus on that until really the late 60s, early 70s, when there was this kind of convergence of evidence from multiple lines of inquiry, and almost everybody accepted it. Okay, end of story. Germ theory of disease, theory of evolution. There's lots of these that get consensus. Now, it's possible that the Darwinian theory of evolution is wrong and that it's the creationist model, but not likely at this point because there's so much evidence for it. So proportion your confidence in the belief to the evidence. If there's a lot of evidence, you should be confident the belief is true. If there's not much, you should be skeptical.
How do you define a conspiracy theory?
Okay, a conspiracy is two or more people plotting in secret to do something to a third party without their knowledge or consent.
Right.
A conspiracy theory is a theory about that could be happening.
Okay.
Okay, so there are conspiracies. There really are. Government agencies, corporations, they conspire to do things in secret to gain an unfair advantage. Big tobacco, controlling the regulatory state to convince everybody that cigarettes don't cause lung cancer. Big pharma controlling the regulatory state to convince doctors that opioids are not addictive. These are conspiracies that were exposed through lawsuits and trials, okay? Or Volkswagen cheating the emission standards, Watergate, CIA and FBI programs to spy on people without legal recourse through the courts and so on. That has happened. So conspiracy theories may or may not be true. Some of them are true. Some of them are false. Some of them are indeterminate. So the key question here is a signal detection problem. I have a conspiracy theory. Is the signal from the evidence converging on that the theory is true or not? And for that, you have to look at the evidence for each one.
Now, a theory, by definition, does it have to explain a present or past event? Can it not be a prediction?
Well, from theories, you make predictions.
Right, okay.
If the theory is true, this is what we should find.
Sure.
Right? So, for example, if 9/11 was an inside job, or the moon landing was faked, or JFK was assassinated by the CIA, or whatever, if there's a massive data dump of highly classified documents, like in WikiLeaks, millions and millions of classified documents, there's not one paper trail for 9/11 is an inside job, moon landing fake, JFK was assassinated by the CIA.
Right.
Nothing. So we would predict, if it's true, there'd have to be some paper trail somewhere.
If somebody came up to you and posited a conspiracy theory, it doesn't matter what it is, and so far there's no evidence to support it, but there's also no evidence to refute it. So how do you go about disproving a conspiracy theory?
You can't. This is called the burden of proof argument. The
Right.
burden of proof is on the claimant, not on me to disprove it, because how would I disprove it? Right? If you say, I think aliens are here, can you prove that they aren't? No, I can't prove that they aren't. They could be hiding, in Alaska or something. I don't know. But the burden of proof is not on me. Mm-hmm. You're the one making the claim. Show me the evidence.
Right. Can you show us or present to us some examples of evidence that were later retracted because the data were wrong?
Well, the alleged connection between vaccines and autism, which was made in a paper published in The Lancet in the 1990s, was discovered to be not only inaccurate, but fraudulent. And so the co-authors of that paper withdrew their names, The Lancet withdrew the paper and denounced it as fraud. That would be an example of a debunking or a withdrawal or a changing of the mind.
How did that even get published? I mean, were the results not peer-reviewed?
They were peer-reviewed. Peer review is not perfect. It's we've just gone through a replication crisis in medical science and the social sciences of a lot of papers that were published in the 1990s and 2000s that were not replicable. They probably should have never been published. And how does that happen? Okay, well, there's detailed on statistics. Something called p-hacking, for example. You want to get this p-value, that is the probability of the results being due to chance or the real effect you're interested in. you can throw out some numbers in your data set to make that P number move a little bit. And so, if you don't look at the raw data, and most peer reviewers don't see the raw data, then you're not going to see where the p-hacking, and there's lots of examples of that. You run 9 experiments, one of them is statistically significant, the others are not. You put those in the file drawer. It's called the file drawer problem. Me, the reviewer, I don't see the 8 failed experiments, I only see the one. All right, but you got to know what was tried and didn't work and why that didn't happen, right? And then journals are not interested in publishing replication studies. They want original studies because more people will read the journal and so on. These are internal, issues that are being dealt with now by scientists. Peer review is not perfect.
I'm going to give you one example. This is an extreme example. Some people believe the Earth is flat. Okay, I don't know to what extent they really believe that, but there's a movement. Okay,
yes.
There's overwhelming evidence to support that the Earth is not flat and that we do live on a round planet. Yet people deny the evidence or ignore it. Why?
Usually there's some ideological reason. In the case of the flat earthers, most of them are religious, and they take a very literalist interpretation of the Old Testament, Book of Genesis, that the earth is, this flat plane kind of thing. They're wrong, and you can show them why they're wrong. You can take them out and run some experiments.
But they still won't believe you.
They still don't, yeah, that's right. I mean, in the late 19th century, Alfred Russel Wallace famously took up the challenge of a flat earther, and they actually set up a test where they went to this Bedford Canal in England that was like 10 kilometers long. So you could really see a long ways, and you get a little telescope, and you set up these posts that are exactly the same height with a little target on each of them along the 10 kilometers, and you just look through the tube, through the telescope, and you could see that the one 10 kilometers away has dropped down because the Earth is curving.
Sure.
And that's the end. That's the test. End of story. Well, this guy who challenged Wallace, he didn't pay. And it's like, all right. So he had to take him to court to sue the guy, and because often people are not fair, honest actors when they,
The argument that conspiracy theories many of them have become true or have later proven to be correct. How would you respond to that?
It's true, absolutely.
Yeah.
This is what I call constructive conspiracism. That is, one reason people believe conspiracy theories is because enough of them are true that it pays to assume more of them are true than are, just in case. Right? As they say, just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they're not after you.
Yeah. You've got 2 groups. Let's say you've got 2 groups of scientists who come to different conclusions on the same experiment. What's the next step of the process to evaluate?
Run some more, get a different lab. Just bring in new people. Red team it. The blue team, the red team. Just have somebody that doesn't agree with you run the experiment.
Okay.
Or at least that doesn't know anything about it. They run the experiment.
Right.
And you just have to keep doing that until you get some kind of consensus.
So to answer your previous question, you said that people believe conspiracy theories because enough of them have proven to be true.
Yeah. I mean, all the suspicions about the CIA and the FBI in the 60s and 70s, when a lot of the classified documents were released related to the JFK assassination, revealed not that the CIA or the FBI was in on the assassination of JFK, they weren't, but that they were up to all sorts of other things. Of assassinating foreign leaders and rigging elections in foreign countries to favor the fascist dictator over the communist dictator, that kind of stuff. It's like, oh, our intelligence agencies were doing that? Yep. The WikiLeaks revealed a lot of stuff, even in the Obama administration, that they were doing, that were either illegal or immoral, not known by Congress, not approved by a judge. The wiretapping of Martin Luther King Jr.'s phone over years. One reason we know so much about how MLK operated as an activist for civil rights was we have the transcripts of all of his phone calls. How did we get those? From the FBI. And that was signed off by Robert F. Kennedy, who at the time, under his brother, was the Attorney General. So J. Edgar Hoover, the head of the FBI, comes to him and says, I want to wiretap MLK so this guy's dangerous to America. And Robert F. Kennedy signed off on that. Wow. Because now they're kind of on the same team, right? They're both heroes of civil rights. Not so at the time. So that's, kind of disturbing that our government agencies do things like that. I mentioned the regulatory capture by Big Pharma and Big Tobacco. That's true, right? So we have to pay attention.
How did we know that's true?
Lawsuits where you have to disclose, and there are demands for emails and texts and things like that. I mean, we have the memos from the tobacco companies saying we know tobacco is addictive, we know it causes lung cancer, but we're going to make this argument that so these are called, the book is called The Merchants of Doubt, where all this is published, Naomi Oreskes, that doubt is our product. They actually wrote that in a memo. We are going to tell the public that the jury is still out, the science is undetermined. They knew that they were lying, and they had to disclose that in lawsuits, and they were fined billions of dollars. Same thing with Big Pharma now. Purdue Pharmaceutical was fined billions of dollars for lying. They knew that the opioids were addictive, and they lied to physicians and said, go ahead and write scripts for these because they're not addictive. They lied, and we know that, and they got sued for that.
The process of formulating a conspiracy theory, those ones that came out to be true, or turned out to be true, somebody might have or must have looked at some data or some information to have formulated that theory in the first place. It wasn't just out of the blue.
Whistleblowers, often this comes from whistleblowers. So one reason we have whistleblower laws is to protect those people, so this is how we find out what's going on inside a corporation, inside a government agency, because outsiders are closed off to that. And so that's why we need whistleblowers. Whistleblowers are good. I hope the UFO whistleblower guys, I hope they're right. I hope they come out, show us everything. I would be delighted.
Yeah. Well, we have to also consider the fact that if you look at the spectrum of conspiracy theories that have been published online or circulated in social media, maybe only a small fraction of them turn out to be true.
That's right.
The process of gathering information isn't the same for all of them.
That's right. I heard a funny one last night that the Titanic is not actually the Titanic. It's the other ship. It's the Olympic.
Right.
Where's the Titanic? It's like, okay. Isn't the name on the ship down there, 5 miles? Isn't it the name right? I mean, okay. Oh, they changed the name. Oh, they did. Okay.
How do you go about disproving that?
Yeah, well, I'm not going down in one of those submersibles. I'm not testing that.
Well, that in itself is a theory. The people they fake their own death to disappear.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, Princess Diana faked her death. Elvis faked his death. Yeah. They're all alive in Ecuador.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, tell us about some other stories you're working on in Skeptic Magazine that people should be interested in.
We've shifted from doing a lot of the stuff on conspiracies and psychics and astrology and UFOs and ancient aliens and all that to more sort of mainstream hot button issues like trans, abortion, race, nationalism, energy. We just did, our latest issue is on nuclear energy.
Yeah.
Because environmentalists tend to be against nuclear energy, even though this is the most efficient, lowest carbon footprint, and so on, of source of energy ever.
Let's talk about that. What is the environmentalist argument against nuclear?
Chernobyl.
Okay.
3 Mile Island, Fukushima, they just throw those words out like, oh, it's scary. But in fact, nobody died in 3 Mile Island. Not one person died. 3,000 people die a year on average from coal-related jobs.
Right.
It's a dangerous job. It's a dirty industry. And yet, even in Fukushima, the problem was not the nuclear plant. It was the earthquake and the tsunami. The walls, defensive walls, were not big enough, and so on. Chernobyl was bad, but this was an old 1950s Soviet-era design that was a poor design, human error, so on and so forth. That's never going to happen again because the new designs are better. And anyway, and if you really want to save the environment, nuclear is the way to go. It's zero carbon emissions, and in terms of the footprint, it doesn't take much space at all compared to like wind farms or solar panel farms take up massive amounts of land. And the liberals who claim that they want this, they don't want those things in their backyard. Right, the Cape Cod liberals, when a proposal came out, we're going to put wind farms right out there in the ocean. And they're like, wait a minute, that's going to block my skyline. I love my beautiful view. It's like, I thought you wanted to save the environment. Well, not that bad.
But how is the nuclear waste disposed of?
Well, so that this is another of these contentious issues that the people that work in this assure me, because I don't do nuclear physics, that these things can be contained for tens of thousands of years quite safely. And that there's not that much. Now there's new designs where they recycle the used material, and they can keep doing this over and over for long periods, for thousands of years. So part of the problem is that the regulatory state has prevented the necessary experimentation to improve the technology, because they have a zero tolerance for failure. Like the airline industry became so efficient because with every plane crash, we learned something and improved the next generation of planes. That's not allowed to be. That has not been allowed to happen in the nuclear industry.
I remember a cover of one of the issues of Skeptic. Can't remember which issue, but it was a picture, a painting of a future of America. You got futuristic cars and wind turbines,
cars,
and flying cars and everything. So
that's our latest issue. That's the energy matters.
Right, right. What is your vision of the future? Yeah,
it would be like fusion. Something nuclear. The renewables are fine. I like wind and solar. All that's good. I have an electric car. All that's good. I think cumulatively, we'll get there. So two things. One, it's not fair to poor people today to tell them you can't burn carbon emissions in fossil fuels.
Sure.
Because we've already done it. Fossil fuels are actually very efficient to get people out of poverty, get their own industrial revolution, get people wealthy so that they can afford to get rid of fossil fuels and move on to the next stage. So that's the long-term future. Also, the population, is going to go down, because people throw that into the equation. How are you going to feed 8 billion, 9 billion, 10 billion? But it's not always going to keep going up. It's already going to start going down around 2050, 2060 because the replacement level has dropped. It's 2.1 people per 2.1 children per woman. In the West, most Western countries, it's below replacement now. It's like 1.9, 1.5, and so on. And so education of women, economic opportunities for women, freedom, property ownership, so all these kind of libertarian type factors lead to lower population. So that's the solution in the long run.
Okay. When a scientist comes out with a new invention or an innovation, oftentimes it's perceived as untrustworthy. We're not accepted by the public right away. I'm not going to name specific examples, but generally speaking, how would a scientist or an engineer convince the public to at least consider something new?
Well, that's more social and political probably. I mean, if you're referring to AI and ChatGPT, it's going to be extinction of the species. Come on.
Those are the headlines that I've been seeing, yes.
Yeah, that's the headlines, yeah. Get past the headlines. Really, almost all technological improvements lead to big advances and some losses.
All technological improvements or advancements have been initially met with skepticism.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I know, right. And then what happens? Well, people get used to it. It's like IVF. In the 80s, this was considered like just morally wrong. You're playing God. Even secular scientists, we can't use IVF. People are going to want to eugenically engineer their children. None of that happened. And now, I don't know, it's like 1 million children a year are born through IVF. No one thinks twice about it. Or if you want to talk about, AI and computers and so on. What happened to all the elevator operators when elevators got computers and you could control them? Nothing. They just went off and did something else. That's just the way it goes. And the horse and buggy industry.
Yeah.
Where did it go with the automobile industry? Well, they just went out. That's just the way it goes.
What's one scientific advancement you would not want to see come into market?
Oh boy. Well, I don't know. Maybe improvements on fossil fuels or something.
Okay.
Let's go. I'm a big nuclear. Let's get on with nuclear.
Let's get on with nuclear.
Yeah.
How do you feel about Elon Musk's Neuralink chips in your brain?
Well,
Transhumanism.
It's a bit of in principle, I love the idea, but opening up the skull to stick something in a brain is not what most people think it is. It's very invasive. People that get brain surgeries, they're on meds for the rest of their life to prevent strokes and epileptic seizures, things like that. It's not a simple thing. Just open up your skull and put a chip in there. And then, you can upgrade the software, from a distance, okay, but what about when the hardware? Then you got to go back in the brain to replace the hardware.
Yeah.
This is not as simple as it sounds. So, in principle, I like it, but I'm doubtful that
Well, this leads to my ultimate question as to how do we, or should we as a society, govern advancements in technology? At what point does it become a moral issue, an ethical issue that we have to, as a society, look over? I'll give you an example. Suppose we have the medical advancements to extend your lifetime to hundreds of years. Should we do it?
Okay, here's my answer to that.
Yeah.
Let people do what they want, and then if a problem develops, then the regulators can step in. I'd rather keep the state out of it, let science and technology and engineering and so on just do its thing, and let the market decide what it wants. I mean, again, back to IVF or other kind of things like that. It has never led to like some Nazi-era eugenics program. This never happens. So just let people do whatever they want. If a problem develops, this might, like I have a Tesla. So, when I punch the little button and say, navigate LAX, and if all of a sudden it drives, because there's so much traffic in LA, it drives up on the sidewalk and I mow down pedestrians, how long is Elon going to stay in business before the government comes in and goes, hey, stop this self-driving business. You just killed 100 people.
Well, the argument is we could have prevented that. We could have prevented the deaths of those people on the sidewalk if we had just stopped that from happening.
But there's already over 40,000 people die a year because just basically it's apes driving cars at the moment. So I say, the precautionary principle, we should stop it just in case. No. Just let it go and then see what happens. Let AI and all this stuff, good tool for humans. And if something develops where it looks like it could be a huge problem, okay, then we step in and go, all right, stop.
So just let me analyze this. You don't think AI is an existential threat to humanity?
No,
you
I
don't think sentience is going to threaten our existence?
No. First of all, I think we're a long ways from true, human level intelligence in terms of sentience and awareness and wisdom and moral decisions, things like that. Computers don't want anything. They want a desire, having a goal. These are evolved emotions for a social primate species that AI and computers, robots don't have, and they never will have. You just give it a task and it just does it. It doesn't want to take over the world or want to destroy humanity. It doesn't want anything. There's that. And then, of course, we can always step in and stop it. Why would we not be able to just... If you doubt the power of the government regulatory state to come in and go, you're not making that, we're sending in the feds to stop your company, that would do it. I mean, Elon can't do it. He is as powerful and rich as it gets, but he can't do anything he wants. There's laws, right? So, let the Elons of the world do whatever they want until something bad happens, then step in.
Well, you've seen the movies. The computer decides that humans are an impediment to their advancement. And so
I know, but that's not going to happen overnight. We could see it coming, in my opinion.
I mean, it's not a want that they want to exterminate us. It's just a need.
It's kind of a mismatch or misalignment problem.
Sure.
The alignment problem. Yeah, I'm aware of the arguments. Okay, it could be programmed to make paper clips, and then it turns everything into paper clips, including you and me. Come on, really? You're not going to see this coming and stop it.
Where can we read your work, Skeptic Magazine?
Skeptic.com.
Skeptic.com.
Yep.
All right, and everything's online?
Yep.
What's your favorite sci-fi movie, Michael, before we go?
The Day the Earth Stood Still.
Oh, that's a good one. The original one with the new one?
The original one.
Okay.
Yeah, 1951, yeah. It's a Christ allegory because, remember, Klaatu's name on Earth was Mr. Carpenter. And he comes from on high, mingles among the common people. He wants to meet with the authorities. They won't meet him. And then he is killed by the authorities. He's put in the tomb. And then Gort, the robot, goes and takes him out of the tomb, back to the spaceship, and resurrects him. Mm-hmm. It's a Christ allegory. Oh. Right? Then he gives his little speech and he ascends to heaven.
Maybe that's what the UFO people are discovering.
I actually think the whole UFO thing is a kind of a religion. It's a desire to know that there's something more advanced, powerful, more moral than us, and they're out there and they know we're here. That's religion. Yeah.
Well, at some point, we, with the power of technology, could create potentially new life forms.
Far future humans could be godlike.
Yeah, exactly.
For sure.
Anyway, a topic for another time, Michael.
Okay.
I appreciate the talk. Thanks for your time today.
You're welcome.
And thank you for watching. We'll have more for you. Stay tuned.